Well, you all remember that leaked draft before the Supreme Court overturned Roe versus Wade. Well, the Supreme Court now releases its report into its probe into that leaked draft opinion, saying effectively it's been unable to determine the identity of the leaker.
Yeah, the report says it was likely a person with insider access, concluding that they do not believe that the culprit had unauthorized access to the court's computer system from an external source. So we want to bring in now CBS News chief legal correspondent Jan Crawford. Jan, tell us, what are the key takeaways from this report?
Well, I think the bottom line is they did a thorough investigation. The Chief Justice asked Michael Chertoff, the former head of Homeland Security, to come in and review the steps that were taken in this investigation. He concluded that it was thorough. And after 8 months, the bottom line is they still don't know who leaked this draft opinion. When we say extensive, I mean, they talked to nearly 100 court employees, 82 of whom had access either electronically or hard copies of this draft opinion, all denied having leaked it. They asked for affidavits swearing under penalty of perjury, false statements that they were not the leaker. They all signed it. They looked at the IT systems and whether or not they could tell if someone had downloaded the copy to like a hard drive or something and taken it home, or printer logs that could show that someone had printed it out and perhaps taken it home. And that also revealed nothing, concluding at the end of this 8-month investigation that they still are not sure who this leaker was. They say they're going to continue this investigation, and if more things come up, then of course, if something is disclosed down the road, they will be all over that and do more interviews. But at this point, we're kind of back where we started, wondering who leaked this to Politico. And remember, I mean, this has never happened before.
Yeah.
This was the first time a draft opinion was leaked to the news media in the history of the court.
Well, Jan, that just makes me wonder then, where does this leave the country and the court itself? Because the statement here says this was one of the worst breaches of trust in its history, which is no small statement. And of course, it was leaked, some perceived, in an effort to perhaps encourage the court, pressure the court to change its upcoming opinion. So with this conclusion that they don't know who it was or why they may have done it, where does this leave all of us?
Well, I mean, first of all, that's great points. And the court, I think there are a couple of things that are really interesting. The court is speaking with one voice here. I mean, we've got a statement from the entire court speaking as one, talking about what a devastating betrayal this was for the court, how damaging it is for the court if they can't guarantee that they will have the ability to have confidential communications, and how damaging that is for the integrity of the institution and democracy itself. And then they go on to talk about how there are things that can be done and things that are already underway to ensure that this will never happen again. The report itself, and also Michael Chertoff, Secretary Chertoff, makes several recommendations for bolstering that kind of security that you see with electronic devices at the court, hard copies. So they're already implementing things to try to ensure that this does not happen again, limiting, for example, the number of people that would have access to sensitive documents, making it harder for people to just print them out and read them. Keeping better tags on who is printing things out, because a lot of the printer logs weren't either working or they couldn't figure out who had printed out what. So the IT systems at the court, it sounds like, have needed some strengthening and security, and they're doing that.
Well, Jen, on that front, it sounds like this extensive investigation believes that it was an internal job. It was one of these 82 people. They haven't been able to determine who that is. So are we led to believe that leaker is still there and still has potentially access?
No, I mean, if it's a law clerk, which I think most people believe it was, they've already gone, right?
Over.
Those are just those are just positions that they would have had for the year, so they're gone. And if it's a permanent employee, and again, I mean, my sources, no one thought a permanent employee would do this. It's just almost inconceivable to think because of their respect for the institution. So, the one thing I do think is notable in the report, another thing, is that they do point out that they're not sure if perhaps it was an inadvertent disclosure. Perhaps someone may have left it somewhere. I think that seems a little unlikely that then it ends up with Politico, but hey, you know, who knows? So it could have been that. The other thing is that I thought was interesting, they talked to several law clerks who apparently thought it was okay to talk to your spouse about what the court was doing. And so they really are going to crack down on that, you know, you take a vow of confidentiality, so that doesn't mean that, you know, you get to go home and tell your spouse about it. That means you don't get to tell anyone. So, you know, that's also among some of the recommendations, strengthening the training and making sure that law clerks understand that when you say, I'm not going to talk about this, that also includes, I'm not going to talk about it to my husband or wife.
Very interesting.
Or your mama, or anyone.
Jan Crawford, thank you.
Thank you, Jan.
Thanks.